Hello, and welcome back. Today, we are going to focus on the very first practical step of any data analysis project. We have talked about the mindsets, but now we are going to answer the question, where does the data actually come from, and how do we get our hands on it? We are tackling skill S54, extract data from a range of sources. For example, databases, web services, open data. This is the foundational, hands-on skill of sourcing your raw materials. I want you to think of yourself as a chef preparing for a new recipe. Before you can even start cooking, you need to source your ingredients. You need to know which supplier has the best vegetables, where to get the right spices, and how to get them delivered to your kitchen. This skill is exactly that, but for data. It is about knowing where the data lives and mastering the techniques to bring it into your workspace so you can begin the process of analysis. Our goal today is to make that sourcing process clear, structured, and predictable for you. Let's use my scaffold and ascend method to break this skill down into a simple, logical process. The core action is to extract data. This is a specific technical term. It means we are connecting to a system where data is stored and pulling a copy of it into our own environment where we can work with it. This is the very first step in what is known as the ETL process: extract, transform, and load. Today is all about the extract. Next, the skill states we must do this from a range of sources. This is the reality of a modern business. Data isn't stored in one neat place, it is spread across many different systems. A professional data analyst is a specialist in connecting to this variety of sources. Finally, the standard gives us the three main categories of sources you will encounter: databases, web services, and open data. We are going to look at each of these three categories one by one, so you have a clear mental model for where to find the data you need. Let's focus on why this skill is so fundamental for you and your role. This is the skill that kicks off every single project you will ever work on. First, I want you to see this as a skill that plays to your strengths. Extracting data from structured sources like databases and API is a highly logical, rule-based process. It is about learning the syntax of a language like SQL, or learning how to read the rules in an API documentation. It is a predictable and methodical task. Second, it is the absolute prerequisite for everything else you do. All the other skills we have discussed, data cleansing, analysis, visualization, are impossible if you cannot get the data in the first place. Mastering this unblocks your entire workflow. Finally, it is how you will find your most powerful insights. The most valuable discoveries often happen when you combine data from different places. This skill is what allows you to bring those different ingredients together to create a much richer analysis. Let's start with the most common and important data source you will work with as a data analyst: the database. Think of your company's main databases as the corporate brain or a perfectly organized warehouse. Data is stored in tables, which are like the aisles in the warehouse, and each table is made up of rows and columns. The method we use to get data out of this warehouse is a specific language called SQL, or structured query language. This is a non-negotiable core skill. The key command you will use is select. It is like filling out a request form. You state exactly what information you want and where it is. For example, a simple query might ask the database to give us the name, order date, and amount for all orders that came from the United Kingdom. Mastering this one command is the first step to becoming a professional data analyst. The second major source of data is web services, which we almost always interact with through something called an API. I know this can sound complex, but the waiter analogy is the clearest way to understand it. Imagine you want data from a system like your online marketing platform. You cannot go into their kitchen database. Instead, you interact with the waiter, the API. First, you read the menu. This is the API documentation. Following those rules, you write a small script, usually in a language like Python, to send your order. This is the API request. The waiter takes your request, gets the data, and brings it back to you. The data is almost always in a structured text format called JSON, which is very easy for a programming language to read. It is a very logical, rule-based process of request and response. The third category is open data and files. Think of open data as a public library. It is a huge, free resource of information that you can use to add valuable context to your own company's data. For example, you could analyze your company's sales data alongside open data about national holidays or weather patterns to see if there is a connection. The extraction method here is usually the most straightforward. First, you download the file, often a CSV. Second, you import that file into your analysis tool. As a data analyst, your standard tool for this will likely be the Pandas library in Python. With a single line of code, Pandas can read a CSV file and turn it into a structured table called a data frame, ready for you to start cleaning and analyzing. Let's walk through a practical plan. The business asks, we sell a lot of umbrellas. I want to know if our sales are actually related to the weather. Instead of feeling overwhelmed, you create a structured extraction plan. First, source identification. You need sales data that lives in the main database. You need store locations that comes from an internal web service. You need weather history that is open data. Second, the extraction method plan. You write it down. Step 1, use a SQL query for sales. Step 2, use a Python script for the store API. Step 3, download the weather CSV and import with Pandas. You have now taken a vague business question and turned it into a clear, logical, and predictable technical plan. You have created the clarity you need to proceed with confidence. Before we finish, I want to touch on a crucial point of professionalism. As a data analyst, you will be given access to a lot of information, and you must handle that access responsibly. First, for databases, the rule is simple: respect the permissions you have been given. Never try to hack around security to see data you are not authorized to view. Second, for API, always read the documentation regarding rate limits. This tells you how many requests you can make per minute. You must write your scripts to respect this, or you could crash the service. Finally, if you are scraping data from the web, always check the robots.txt file first. This gives clear instructions on what you are allowed to access. Following these rules is what makes you a trustworthy professional. For your portfolio, S54 is a great opportunity to show your technical competence. Use the STARR method. Here is an example of how you might write this up. Situation: marketing needed to know which campaigns drove traffic. Task: I needed to join internal financial data with external web traffic data. Action: this is where you shine. Right, I created a data sourcing plan. I used a SQL query to extract the spend data from our database. Then, I wrote a Python script to query the Google Analytics API to get the traffic data. Result: I produced a unified dataset that revealed a 20% ROI increase. Reflection: I learned that mapping out the extraction methods regarding data types before writing code prevented compatibility errors later. In your major project, S54 should be a distinct section, likely titled Data Acquisition or Methodology. Do not just say you got the data, show how. Include screenshots of your SQL code. Paste snippets of your Python API script. Explain how you validated that the number of rows you extracted matched the source. This proves technical rigor. To conclude, mastering S54 makes you a resourceful analyst. It gives you the confidence that whatever the business question, you have the toolkit, databases, API, and files to go out and find the ingredients you need. Thank you for your focus. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you now feel more confident in mastering this topic. If you found value in this session, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and follow our channel. It really means a lot to me and helps the algorithm show these lessons to other apprentices just like you who need support. Don't forget, you can download today's slides and the full transcript at www.mentorinai.com EPA Hub. While you are there, check out our mock interview and portfolio review services to make sure you are fully ready for your EPA. See you in the next video. Keep learning.